Hello friends. Are Washington's triumphant claims of having brokered the India-Pakistan ceasefire bogus? Is China disappointed with Pakistan for suing ceasefire with India? Was India arm-twisted into accepting the ceasefire? Let us try to get some answers to these questions. The ceasefire follows a period of intense military escalation between India and Pakistan, which was triggered by a brutal terrorist attack on innocent Indian civilians in Pahalgam on April 22. In response, India launched Operation Sindoor, a series of precision strikes targeted terrorist launchpads in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir or POJK, which killed over 100 terrorists and 35 to 40 Pakistani soldiers. Pakistan retaliated with drone and missile attacks, leading to 4 days of heavy cross-border fighting. Drones and missiles were freely used by both sides. Just when the skirmish was escalating to an all-out war with potential use of nuclear weapons, Washington declared a complete ceasefire on May 10, 2025 via social media. Americans claimed that they had brokered the deal following extensive negotiations with Pakistan and India. Some believe that Pakistan's ceasefire request followed India's attacks, implying a mutual de-escalation. But Pakistan forces violated the ceasefire almost immediately after the declaration. There were explosions and shelling in Kashmir, with some drones and shells hitting Punjab and Jammu too. India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Mistry and Pakistan's Foreign Ministry confirmed the ceasefire. It was reportedly agreed to stop all military actions with immediate effect. There were no official statements whether Pakistan had or will hand over the Pahalgam and Pulwama suspects to India. Moreover, there is no confirmation whether the two sides would stop the troop mobilization towards the front. The lack of conditions does not mean both sides have dropped their grievances. The ceasefire has paused the fighting, but key issues such as India's anti-terror demands are still unresolved. The ceasefire is a temporary truce to prevent further escalation rather than a resolution of core disputes between the two countries. Pakistan's failure to deliver the attackers behind the Pahalgam and Pulwama attacks fuels speculation whether India has been a bit too lenient in this case. Let us not forget that India's Operation Sindoor was a strong retaliatory action, destroying terrorist infrastructure and reportedly killing Pakistani soldiers. The Indian Navy also deployed forces in the Arabian Sea, putting Pakistan's Navy on the defensive. These actions suggest that India was not backing down and was prepared to bring full force of its military strength to the retaliation. The fact that India had mobilized its forces to the entire border, activated its navy and air force, showed that it was bracing itself for a full-fledged war despite the risk of a nuclear war. Then what happened suddenly that India agreed to a ceasefire that appears to be unconditional? The reports in public domain state that following Indian airstrikes, Pakistan's DGMO reportedly asked for a ceasefire, possibly due to pressure from India or other countries. This contradicts the canard of India surrendering. it is more plausible that India's military actions may have forced Pakistan to seek a pause. Some sources suggest that Washington pressured Pakistan by linking the $1 billion IMF loan tranche to the ceasefire. If true, this implies Pakistan faced economic coercion from IMF as well as United States. There is no evidence to show that Washington pressured India in any manner. However, the US president's public statement might have indirectly pressured or pursued India to agree to avoid the appearance of non cooperation. India's opposition leaders have sought a special session to debate the ceasefire. This reflects political concerns, but it is not an evidence of surrender. The Indian government insists that the ceasefire does not change its resolve to punish Pakistan for any such misdeeds. Interestingly, Pakistan has admitted to its role in the 2019 Pulwama attack. This weakens its denial of the Pahalgam attack. However, there is no sign that Pakistan intends to hand over suspects as part of the ceasefire. India's pause in fighting might be a strategic move to prevent wider conflict, particularly considering nuclear weapons. But this does not prove that India ever intended to surrender. On the contrary, the government has made it quite clear that it will strongly react to any violations or future incursions into the Indian territory by terrorists. China is a close ally of Pakistan. Beijing supplies it with advanced weapons like fighter jets, drones, and missile systems. So there is a speculation that it wants to test its weapon systems in real war scenarios. In support, there are arguments that weapons are tested in real combat situations, such as the war in Ukraine. Supporters of this theory strongly argue that the Western allies are arming Ukraine against Russia to validate their own weapon systems. So, China could theoretically at least use Pakistan as a proxy to test drones, missiles, or electronic warfare systems against India's defenses and forces. But there are counter arguments too. No reports confirm that Chinese supplied weapons were prominently used in the current or recent clashes. Pakistan's attacks involved drones and missiles, but their origin is not specified in available sources. It could be Turkey, which has been brazenly backing Pakistan against India. It has a problem with India over the latter's strengthening ties with its arch enemy Greece. China has invested billions of dollars, or about a trillion according to some sources, in China Pakistan Economic Corridor or CPEC, military and related infrastructure in Pakistan. In fact, there is some mining projects also. China would prefer to protect its assets in Pakistan rather than test its weapons in the conflict. The market for its weapon systems is already expanding in Africa and other parts of the world. The CPEC, which is a part of China's Belt and Road Initiative or BRI, gives it a strategic stake in Pakistan's stability. It is unlikely that a prolonged India-Pakistan conflict could benefit China by diverting India's attention from their border disputes and weakening a regional rival. China's Wang Yi asked India and Pakistan to talk and agree to a permanent ceasefire. Wang condemned the Pahalgam attack and opposed terrorism, suggesting China publicly supports de-escalation. Now, this aligns with China's interests in regional stability to protect its CPEC investments. China's public call for peace actually contradicts the idea of it stoking this particular conflict. Moreover, a prolonged war risks destabilizing Pakistan, which could harm China's economic and strategic interests. There is no evidence that China is unhappy with the ceasefire. Wang Yi's comments indicate China seeks stability and wants to increase its influence in South Asia without direct intervention. While it is plausible that China benefits from low intensity conflict between India and Pakistan, the idea that it is actively pushing Pakistan to fight so that it could test its weapons does not appear logical. China's focus appears to be on diplomatic influence and economic leverage, not battlefield experiments. The ceasefire's fragility is of great concern. It does not solve the main problems which are causing this conflict. The Defense Minister of Pakistan's admission of past terrorist involvement complicates its narrative, potentially strengthening India's case internationally. The ceasefire seems to be a temporary halt to fighting focused on avoiding a larger war. There is no evidence that India surrendered to pressure. Instead, India's aggressive military response likely prompted Pakistan to seek a truce. Its success depends on both nations' commitment to dialogue and restraint. For the time being, it has averted a catastrophic escalation, but without addressing terrorism and Kashmir's status, so tensions could resurface again. The USA's involvement has added a layer of complexity, but the real test lies in whether India and Pakistan can move beyond this fragile truce towards lasting peace, which is what we all want. In case you have liked my video, please do like, subscribe, comment and share. Thank you.